Good morning. My name is Matthew Bland, and I'm one of the partners at Time Technologies, and I head up the Microsoft practice. Thanks for taking some time out of your busy day this morning to join us. In today's presentation, I'm going to be taking you through some of the new features of the latest release of Microsoft Business Central, release 2024, Wave 1. The release is called a wave, as this is how Microsoft releases new updates, as a wave rather than everything at once. So they announce what they're going to release for each wave, and then release most of the functionality at the beginning of the wave, with additional updates and features being released through the course of the wave. This webinar does expect that you have some working knowledge of Business Central, as I'm not going to be covering the basics, but rather focusing on what's new. That said, not everything I will be showing you today has only become available in the latest release. Some features may have been released in previous releases, but may still be new to some of you, or some of you might already be using these features. Here is a summary of what I'll be going through today. Some topics I'll just talk briefly about, and for others I'll take you through live demonstration of the feature in Business Central. During the presentation, please feel free to submit questions via the Q&A function in the Teams meeting, and we'll address the questions at the end of the session. So to set the scene, the present today is using the standard Microsoft demo data in the demo Contoso Electronics Company. And Contoso has traditionally sold office furniture and has recently branched into selling coffee machines, related spares, and some coffee beans, etc. Okay, so what's new from a user helping them to be more productive? So in this release, the new action bar that was optional in previous releases is now enabled by default for all users. The new action bar renamed some of the menu options. For example, Process is now called Home and combines old menus into one. For example, on the document pages, the Process and Posting menus have been combined into one Home menu. The modern action bar also has split action buttons, which provide quick access to the most common action, while providing a drop-down for other related actions. The search and analyze actions on the menu bar have also been reduced to just icons to make more space available. And there's, of course, the new Copilot icon that we'll be talking about later. Promoted menu options. Some regularly used actions on different pages have been promoted to always being visible, without the user having to locate them under the actions or related menus. Please note that some of the menu options you may be using have been relocated within the new menu system. So it may take you a few moments to find where they are, but they're definitely still there. For example, as shown here in the customer card, the prices and discounts menu is always available, although you can still find it under the related menu. A new date picker control has been included in this new release, which makes it easier to access prior and future months and years without having to scroll endlessly through the months. I'll show you more of this in the live demo. Some work's also gone into the error messages, and when an error is reported on a page, oftentimes there could be included in the error message a link for a quick action that you could take to try and resolve the error. I'll also show you more about this in the live demo. Keyboard shortcuts are by no means anything new, but there have been some additions to support some of the new functionality. For example, Control, Alt, and down arrow will open the card for an item in a list. For a full list of keyboard shortcuts, please visit the URL aka.ms/bckeys or reach out to one of the team and we can send it to you. Okay, let's switch to some live demo. So hopefully you're familiar with the Business Central screen. Let's go into a customer list. So here in the customer list, you can see the new action bar that I was speaking about with the new icons for Copilot, for search, and for analyze. If we open up a particular customer, for example, this one, you'll see the promoted menu as I was speaking about, prices and discounts, and that's still available over here. You'll see if you click on prices and discounts at the top menu, you'll get the most common functions underneath prices and discounts. If you find the same menu under related, you'll find the other less common options, but the other options are still available under other. So everything is still here, as well as being easily available at the top. If we go into a sales order, let's create a new sales order. And here, for example, on the requested delivery date, if we click on the calendar icon, we get the new calendar control. Now, in the past, for example, if I wanted to pick a date in some future month, maybe August or September, the only option was to scroll through the months until I got to the month I was interested in. And obviously a month or two in advance, not too bad, but if I needed to go quite a lot, I needed to scroll through them. Now you can click on the actual month at the top and you can quickly choose the month that you're interested in. And if I need to choose a different year, I can click on the year, choose the year, and then choose the month, and then just choose the day. Pretty simple. Okay, let's look at the actionable error messages. Let's just choose a customer on this sales order. And in the lines of the sales order, I'm going to choose an item that I know is going to give me an error. So the error is coming up to tell me that there's no posting group allocated to this item. Now in the past, you'd have to go and find that item yourself, but you can see here there's a new action shortcut to show the item card. And I can just click on that and it'll take me straight to the item card for that particular item that I had selected and highlight the fact that I clearly don't have a posting group allocated to this item and therefore I can't use it on the sales order. Now obviously I can select the posting group and then I can continue. But I'm just going to divert quickly here and show you some other functionality. In the scenario, obviously, if I know what the posting group should be, I can choose it. But in the scenario where I perhaps am not the user who sets the posting groups on the items, or I don't know which posting group this item should be linked to, I'm going to reach out to a colleague of mine. And again, in the past, I may have had to take a screenshot of this page or make a note of the item and then send my colleague an email or call them via Teams or something and ask them to do that. I'm going to use the functionality on the card itself to say share to Teams. When I select that option, it's going to open up a Teams chat for me, but embed automatically into that Teams chat a bookmark directly to this card that I'm on. So as you can see, it's selected inserted a bookmark of the actual card and also given me an option to show a preview of that card. So when the person receives this chat, they will get that information. Now I'm going to choose Alex. He's the person that's responsible. And I'm going to say, hi, Alex. Please, can you update the post group on this item and click share. Okay, not sure what happened there, but the link has been shared. So now if I switch quickly to Alex's interface, and I think this is Alex, you'll see Alex has just received a new message from administrator that I was logged in, asking me to have a look at something. I can click on that, and Alex immediately can see what item I'm talking about. He doesn't have to go and look for the item, doesn't have to stop what he's doing and go and log into Business Central. you can just simply click on the details link or the URL at the top here. Let's try that rather. It will automatically log him into Business Central and open up that particular card that I was asking him to update. You can then simply go and click in there, choose the posting group that it needs to be, and save that. Go back to his chat and say, all done. We switch back to the administrator role. You'll get the message to say all done. You can switch back to Business Central and continue capturing his sales order. What happened to my sales order, actually? So I've got the sharing icon in the way. Go back to my sales order. I can now choose the item that I was interested in, which was the test. And now no longer gives me an error. The other thing I wanted to show you quickly here was the keyboard shortcut. So you'll see if I choose the item in the list, I can scroll up and down the list. If I wanted to actually see that the details of that item, I can use the keyboard shortcut Control-Alt-Down arrow, and that'll automatically open up that item card on the selected item, and I can see that the product posting group has indeed been set by my colleague. Okay, moving on. We've had a look at that. So core functionality, what's new in the core functionality? So there have been several enhancements to the core finance functionality. Some of them are listed here on the slide. I'm not going to go into too much detail on all of them, but we'll just touch on a few. So the ability to revalue foreign currency customer and vendor accounts, as well as foreign bank accounts, has been available for a long time, probably since the beginning of BC. But what is new in this release is the ability to revalue other general ledger accounts that have had transactions posted to them with a different source currency. For example, this might be useful if you have loan accounts with foreign entities. To facilitate the revaluation, general ledger entries now have fields to track the source currency and the source currency amount. There are several additional options on the GL account card to indicate if the account should be tracked in one or more foreign currencies, as well as a new batch job to run to do the actual revaluation. Please reach out to our team if this is something you might be interested in learning more about. Some new features for consolidations as listed here. Won't spend too much time on this, but just something to be aware of in case it is something you might like to explore in the future. And to be clear, consolidations refers to the consolidation of data across multiple BC companies. So to give you consolidated reporting and analysis across different companies. Quite a lot of work has gone into this release for the accounts receivable team, specifically with regards to following up on outstanding debt. And for this, I'm going to switch back to the demo and just go back to our homepage. So as you know, in Business Central, you have different role centers that can be set up for different user roles. And I'm going to switch my role center now to a new one that's being created in this release called the Accounts Receivable Administrator. So as I switch through to this role center, you'll see the home page and the menus, etc., are all very focused on accounts receivable, following up on outstanding debt. So we have some new cues at the top, specifically around what's outstanding and our balances, as well as cues on what's happening around payments and documents. And if we scroll down to the insights, we can get a list of customers with an overdue balance. And we can also see how many times we've sent them reminders about those overdue balances, as well as a list of overdue invoices. And as always, you can click on them and drill down to the actual source document. Another area that's had a lot of work is around reminders. Now, some of you may be using reminders to send out emails to customers following up on outstanding invoices, but you've probably noticed that it's a bit manual at this stage. But now what they've done in this release is provide some functionality for more automation around sending of reminders. You can set up these different reminder automations that will create the reminders and send out the reminders, etc. And if we click into one of them, you can have different automations for different customers with different reminder terms. And you can also set up different cadences to send these out, either weekly or monthly or via a custom schedule that you can create for yourself. If we look at the automation to send out the reminders, we also have the option of specifying which invoices to attach with the reminder. So we can attach all outstanding invoices or only overdue invoices, or don't attach any invoices, but just send the email reminder listing the invoices. But it's quite useful if you actually attach copies of the invoices to the reminder message that you send out. Something else that's been changed around reminders is on the reminder terms, where previously you could to specify a start and a line above the list of reminders, or sorry, outstanding invoices, whereas now you can actually have a custom email that goes out with each reminder. Obviously, you can have different wording, whether it's a first reminder or a second reminder. You can customize the wording in the email that goes out with the following up reminders. So that's collections. Moving on to reporting. So Microsoft is changing the way reporting happens in Business Central, specifically with respect to analytical type reporting. Historically, ERP solutions have relied on traditional A4 paper style reports, which BC typically refers to as PDF reports. But for reporting, when the user, what he really wants to do is analyze the data, this is shifting more to direct on-screen analysis type reporting in Excel, as well as more Power BI reporting. You'll see more and more of this coming through in future releases. Behind the scenes, Microsoft is doing a lot of work on the data model so that more Power BI reporting will be available out of the box. But this is still coming. In the previous release, we got the analysis features, which I'll also show a bit later. And in this release, we got some new Excel-based reports. 8 new finance reports have been released thus far, with another 25 to 30 expected as the wave progresses. You can access these new reports via some of the role centers, as well as the Role Explorer. Going back to the demo, you'll see on the home page or the role center for the accounts administrator role, a shortcut for the Excel reports, and 6 of the new 8 reports are available here. Obviously, the 2 that relate to vendors are not displayed on this accounts receivable screen. And another way to access the reports is to click on the new menu item at the top called All Reports, which will bring up a list of all the reports throughout Business Central. And for example, if we expand on the General Ledger section and expand on the Reports section and expand on the Excel reports, it'll list all of the 8 new reports. Now, they do have the word preview at the end. Microsoft is saying that they may still make some changes to these reports, so they're not necessarily the final version, but they still very much can be used. If we now go and see how we can use these reports, let's go through and click on one of the reports. We'll take the aged accounts receivable report. You'll see when you first run the report, the help will give you a bit of information about what the report is doing. And you'll see because they're Excel-based reports, if you haven't used them before, there's no preview option, but a download option. So it'll download the Excel file, and then you open the Excel file. So you run the report, you'll get the message in your browser that the report has been downloaded. You click on open, and it'll open up the file in Excel, which I'll just bring across onto the screen as it opens. And there we have the report in Excel. So it's your normal age accounts receivable, but instead of just getting a report that you can just view, you can now interact with the report. So we have different filters that can be used dynamically while you're viewing the report. In this case, we just have our customer group. I don't have any departments. I can drill down onto a particular customer if necessary. And we can have different sheets in the report showing different data. So this one is showing the age accounts receivable in local currency. I can have one in foreign currency. I can have total amounts due by different currencies, etc., where I have the filters on the different currency codes. So all the Excel reports would have one or more reporting sheets, as well as the underlying data that's used in the report. So for example, here we have a tab for the caption data. So anyone running Business Central in a different language would get their own captions displayed on the report in their language. We have the raw data. So you can use this raw data and create your own pivot tables or own reports if you require, as well as the lookups for the different dimensions that we're using for the filters. As I say, you can customize these reports. This is just Excel. So using standard Excel functionality, you can go and make changes to these reports as you deem fit. So for example, let's try and I want to show this data in a graphical form. So we're just going to create a basic chart for the data. And let's go and position that nicely over there. And now we can see our aging per customer graphically. Now, next time I run this report, I don't want to have to create this graph again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this report locally to my desktop. Then I'll close it and return back to Business Central. We go back to that reporting screen. Now you'll see the field for report layout. If I click through onto the dots, I just have the standard layout, but here I can go and create my own layouts. So clicking into the function here, I can say new, and I can call this, give this one a description. It's an Excel-based report. And then I can select the new template that I've just saved, which is this one over here. So now Business Central will link my template to this layout, and I can also make that the default one if I so choose. So now when I download this report again, it will have my changes that I've made to the Excel file. As you can see here. Okay, moving on. What's new in project management? The project management module has had some attention in this release with several new features and improvements. For a while now, in fact, I believe since Business Central or the old Navision was first translated from Danish to English, projects in BC has been incorrectly named jobs, although the functionality actually meant projects. Microsoft has finally renamed jobs to projects throughout the application and the documentation. They've added some new fact boxes to project card pages, as well as the ability to specify a default location from where inventory items can be drawn for the project. The ability to archive projects is quite useful to keep track of previous versions. The ability to invoice multiple customers from a single project is also something that users have been asking for some time. Similarly, the service management module also got some attention from the Microsoft developers in this release. Some of the new features are shown here on the slide. I don't think we have anyone on the webinar this morning that's using the service management module, so I won't spend too much time on that. It's not often that a release comes with a brand new module, but this has happened in this release. The new sustainability module is now available. Sustainability is a buzzword that we hear often these days. Organizations are being encouraged from different corners to start thinking about the sustainability of their business processes, their contribution to carbon emissions and other greenhouse gases, etc. These drivers could be from customers, investors, or even employees who are wanting to work for a company that is taking sustainability seriously. And then, of course, there's always government regulations. Some regulations have recently become mandated in Europe, and no doubt in time similar regulations will come to New Zealand. The purpose of the sustainability module in Business Central is to help you monitor and manage your organization's impact on the environment. The feature is designed to oversee and regulate an organization's environmental footprint by tracking the various greenhouse gas emissions and providing insights into the data captured. The module provides functionalities to support the basic process of collecting data via sustainability journals and posting these against a chart of sustainability accounts. The first version of this feature focuses on the greenhouse gas emissions. The Environmental, Social and Governance Standard defines 3 emission scopes. Scope 1 emissions are emissions from stationary or mobile combustion from the reporting organization itself. Scope 2 emissions include indirect emissions from the generation of energy that is purchased from utility providers. And Scope 3 emissions include a wide spectrum of emissions from purchased goods and services, capital goods, to fuel and energy-related activities, upstream and downstream transportation, generated waste, business travel, employee commuting, etc. With this feature, you can set up the emission factors for different sources and categories of emissions, record your emission data in sustainability journals, either manually or by using predefined calculation methods, and then post the emission entries to the sustainability ledger where you can view and analyze the data via various dimensions. Okay, the Microsoft Office integration. The next 2 sections on integration between Business Central and some other Microsoft products, Teams and Outlook. I'm going to switch back to a live demo and let's start with the integration with Microsoft Teams. Now, I did show you a little bit about the integration with Teams earlier in the presentation, but what I want to show you now is what users with no Business Central license at all can do from Teams. So at the moment, I'm logged in, obviously, as a user with a Business Central license, and I'm going to go into a customer card. But now, if I want to share information from Business Central to a colleague of mine that does not have a Business Central license, I can do this via Teams. So as I did with the item before, I'm going to share this item card to a colleague of mine. And in this case, I'm going to choose Alan de Jong, who actually doesn't have a Business Central license at all. And I'm just going to send him a message. Hi, Alan. You know, customer credit limit should be signed. Again, I can click on to show preview. And I can share that card with my colleague. Now, if I switch across to my environment for Alan, as I said, Alan doesn't have a Business Central license. So he's just going about his day working in Teams and his other applications. But he's received a chat from the administrator with the message. Now, Alan, although he doesn't have access to Business Central, can still click on the Details tab and view the customer Now it looks like it's opening Business Central, but it's opening it with inside Teams. And to reiterate, Alan does not have any Business Central license at all. Now you'll see it opens the data app in read-only mode. The edit button is not available, but everything else in terms of a read-only approach is available. So you can view the data, you can go and look at the related information about the customer, etc. Alan could then say and provide the feedback. So perhaps 50K limit, send that back to his colleague who can then update it. So without having to find other ways of sharing the information with the user that doesn't have the Business Central license, that user can get immediate access to the data. Not only that through the chat, but we can also have direct access to information inside Business Central. So for example, I have a team here called Business Central Information, and in that team, I have a channel with a list of customers. So Alan, who's just running Teams, no Business Central license, can bring up a list of customers inside Business Central, can view those customers, can go and view the history on those customers, etc. But just to be clear, it's always in a read-only mode. You can't enter the edit mode. You can't create, even if I click on to create a new customer or delete a customer, purely read-only, but full access, for example, on the balance. I can look at the outstanding balance, etc. Similarly, for example, I could have a list of jobs that are happening or projects that are happening in the organization. So this easily share the information that's in Business Central across the entire organization to other users that don't have a Business Central license. Now, just to be clear, it doesn't require a Teams license for Business Central, just requires an Office license that has Microsoft Teams. And there's a whole bunch of other information that can be exposed out of Business Central from within Teams. For example, if I click on the app to go and see what else is available in Business Central, if it doesn't take too long, we can see what else is available: contacts, vendors, items, chart of accounts, etc., etc. Now, although the users don't have Business Central licenses, you would still want to control who in the organization has access to what data, and that's fine. You can set up security groups in Business Central and still restrict access to different areas of the Business Central data to other users at a user level or at a user group level. So you can still expose some information to some users and other information to other users. Moving on to Outlook integration. Now, I think I've shown a lot of you this before, but I think it's quite useful, and I'm just going to go through it again. If I go back to my user over here and go into Outlook. So this is running Outlook. This user does have a Business Central license, but I can, from emails that have been received in Outlook, so for example, here I've received an email from Matthew, and it's saying, please could you send me a copy of invoice number 103410. Now, traditionally, you would have had to go and leave Outlook, go into Business Central, go and search up that invoice number, whereas here, directly from Outlook, the Business Central plugin has identified this number 103410 could potentially be something in Outlook, and it's highlighted that with the dashed line underneath. Clicking on the line, excuse me, it'll actually open up Business Central and go and do a search and see if it can find that number anywhere in Business Central. And as it turns out, it's actually found that that invoice is an invoice for Time Technologies, and it's picked up that invoice here. Obviously, I can see the details for that invoice. I can expand that window and open up a bigger window for the full detail of that invoice. But just directly from here, the customer asked me to send him a copy. I can just scroll down and use the option in the menu here to email that invoice back to the customer. So directly as I'm working in my email, I can handle that bit of work without having to leave where I was. Additionally, within Outlook, we have contact insights. And that will allow me to bring up more information about this contact. So if I wanted to see not only that invoice, maybe there were some other invoices overdue, and I can send those to the customer as well, and not just the one that they've asked. So from here, I can have full access to the customer, and I could also go and create new sales or new quotes, etc., directly from within Outlook. Okay, Copilot. Let's switch back to our demo. And let's go to a list of customers. So with the new Copilot functionality, which is obviously Microsoft's AI release into Business Central, in addition to the normal analyze, we have under the Copilot icon the option to analyze the list. And in here, we're going to describe in basic English how we want, what data we would like to see. So here I'm going to say, please show me a list of customers that owe more than $5,000. So Copilot is going to go and take my request and understand that and map that to Business Central data and hopefully come back with the answer. Okay, so there it has come back with a list of customers who owe more than 5,000 with more than 5,000 outstanding. Now I can refine this. Let's try, can we sort descending by amount? Now, obviously, it will be easier just to go and click on the column and sort it. But if you had a longer list or you weren't sure, a new user, and you didn't really know how to sort the list, just by asking Copilot to sort it for you, you can get that solved. And then next time you'll be able to do it quicker. Let's add some more information. If we want to do some debt collecting, let's add the contact name and number. So I'll go and analyze my request, map it to the Business Central columns, and hopefully add those fields for us. So it's done it. It's added the contact name and the phone number so that I can use that. Okay, I don't have any phone numbers recorded against these customers. Now, obviously, every time I want to view a list of my customers who owe me more than $5,000, I don't want to have to go through those questions every time, but I can keep it. In other words, save this, and I have now a tab called customers owing more than $5,000. So next time when I want to go into my list of customers, I can just go into customers, and that tab is already there. Obviously, if I switch back to the normal list view, if I switch back to my analysis view, the customers owing more than 5,000 is available for me, and I can have access to that immediately. I can obviously rename that to something else, and I can delete it when I no longer want it. Or I can copy a link and share the link to that same list for another of the users, and they can access the same filtered list that I have here. Let's try the same thing on another area. So let's go and look at our ledger entries, customer ledger entries. Here we have a longer list of data, and let's analyze this with Copilot as well. And this time we're going to ask for invoices in the past 90 days. And let's just say I want to show the customer name, invoice number, I want the date and the amount. Spelling. So I'm asking for invoices in the past 90 days. I'd like to see the customer name, the invoice number, the date, and the amount. Right, so it's given us exactly that. We've got the customer name, the document number, the date, and the amount, and it's only invoices in the last 90 days. If we look across here on the right-hand side, we have our list of columns, and obviously it's selected the columns that I've asked it to select. And if I look at our analysis filters, you'll see under document type, it's only selected invoice because I only asked for invoices, so it's excluded the other payments and credit notes, etc. If I go down to document date, it's automatically put in a document date that only includes the last 90 days, so going back 3 months from today. So it's basically taken my English language and interpreted it into the fields that are available and applied the relevant filters and selected the relevant fields. Let's try and refine this a bit more. So let's say, can you please subtotal by customer? That's now given me a grouped list by customer with the same information. I can obviously still expand it. And let's try one more thing. And let's say, can you remove those that have been paid? So now I only want to see outstanding invoices. And it gives back the list. Let's just try, let's discard that and try one more example. Let's go and look at items. And we'll go analyze with Copilot. And let's say I'm looking for items with no alternative item. Items with no alternative item. Okay, so I didn't tell it what columns I want, so it kind of just decided to give me the columns that it thought would be the most useful, the description, the type, the quantity on hand, and Business Central doesn't actually have a field to say whether there's an alternative or not, but it does have a field called substitute exists. So the AI in Copilot has determined that when I asked for no alternatives, it obviously meant that where no substitute exists. Let's refine that a little bit and say, can I add the unit price field? And then perhaps I want to see keep only items with less than one in stock. So now I'm only interested in the items where I don't have an alternative item. I don't have a lot of stock. And obviously these are the items that I need to make sure that I get some orders in so that I can replenish my stock, because if a customer asks for them, I don't have any on hand, and I also don't have an alternative item to give them. Okay, so there's a few ways that we can use the Copilot to analyze our data, get some reporting just using normal English language. One of the other areas that the Copilot has, let's just discard that, is being made available in this release is around sales orders. If we go back to our sales order that we started setting up here, you'll see there's a new menu option called Suggest Sales Lines. And this is again Copilot, and here we can ask Copilot to add the lines to the sales order using straight language. So I'm going to say I need 1 airpot, 2 baskets, and a warming plate. It'll go and take that request, match it to items that we have in Business Central, and hopefully bring that back. So especially useful for for users that don't have a lot of knowledge, the new users that don't know what the item codes are, but they know what the customer's asking for and can just type that into the Copilot search, and it'll go away and come back with our airpot, our 2 coffee filter baskets, and our warming plate, and I can add those onto the sales order, and that's that. For example, another option might be I'm looking for 3 red chairs. And you see it's gone and found the red chair. Now, just to be clear, we have a lot of chairs in the system, not all of them red. We have green and blue, etc. Black, and it obviously interpreted the request and only came back with the red chair. One other thing I'd like to show you, for example, is if I look at the list here, if I look in my list of chairs, I have a blue chair, and I should have another blue chair. So I have more than one blue chair code. But what I want here is I'm looking for the $425 blue chair. I can't remember the code, but I know it costs $425. And it's gone ahead and found the right chair, and that's the one for $425. Okay, moving swiftly because we seem to be out of time. I just want to show you one more thing around items. Let's have a look at our items desk. This has been in the product for a while. So we can use Copilot to generate marketing text for our items. So it'll use the information that's been captured in Business Central about the product and come back to us with some marketing text that we can use on our website to promote this item. We have different options in terms of tone. So I can say I want a formal tone or a casual tone. Let's try change that to upbeat. We can change it from the format. Let's say we just want a paragraph. And I want to emphasize sustainability. And let's regenerate that. Now it'll go and regenerate the text and focusing on sustainability, etc., on this particular item. So you'll see here it's designed with sustainability in mind, etc., etc. So that's another area that Copilot can be used. Now, as the wave progresses, Microsoft may be releasing more Copilot functionality, and you can find that by searching for Copilot in the Tell Me, and you'll see what Copilot functionality is already available. Marketing text as I said was available. So we can also use, I haven't had time to show you today, but we can use Copilot to do some bank account reconciliations, e-document matching, etc. Okay, moving on quickly. I'm going to skip through some of these slides on Power Automate, but the integration between Business Central and the Power Platform has been around for quite a while, but there's been a lot of improvements and new features released in this version, specifically around using the flows in Power Automate to create some nice flows with inside Business Central. Some new templates have been created, some custom actions, etc. And especially around approvals, whereas before, if you wanted to use Power Automate to do approvals, you needed to hard code the approval users. And now in this release, you can actually use the approval user setup from within Business Central to manage the approvals. I'm just going to do one quick demo on using that. If I go into my sales order, you'll see now under the Automate menu, the Power Automate's been around in a couple of releases, but now we have some direct access to actually creating these flows directly within Business Central. Just for this example, I'm going to create an automated flow, and I'm going to select the option that comes up in the template. It says, I want to notify on the teams when a sales order is released. So I want to tell the rest of the organization whenever I release a sales order. And it's going to, obviously it needs to know, it needs to connect to Business Central, it needs to be able to connect to Microsoft Teams. And it's going to ask me which team do I want to make the post in. So let's just post it into Business Central information. And which channel, let's just post it into the general channel. And I can create the flow. So in just a few clicks, I've created now an automation that whenever I release a sales order in Business Central, there'll be a notification in Teams to the rest of the organization. Let's just make this order valid, and let's release this order. And now once it's released, if we go into Teams and we go into the Business Central information, on the General tab, you'll see automatically the message to say that the sales order has been released. And again, using the Teams functionality, I can drill down into that sales order and the whole organization can be made aware of that. That's just one quick way. Obviously, there's many, many use cases of how you can use the integration with Power Automate. So what's coming next? So we've shown a lot of what's in this release, just a taste of what's coming in future releases. Power BI, as I said earlier in the presentation, Microsoft's focusing a lot on Power BI and changing the way users engage with analyzing data in Business Central. And coming soon, we'll have several new out-of-the-box Power BI dashboards, the different modules. And not only will those out-of-the-box dashboards be available, but the data models that they're using will become available and make it easier for users to create their own Power BI reports on top of Business Central. And then for Copilot, what's next? So rather than listening to me, let's just watch this quick video on what's next in Copilot.
You're used to asking questions to uncover the insights you need and solving problems by chatting with coworkers, customers, or vendors. Now, Copilot in Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central offers you a new way to continue the conversation. Copilot is your everyday AI companion for work, built on Microsoft's industry-leading privacy and security. It's here to help you find the answers to your questions quickly and easily. For the first time, Business Central users are empowered to interact with their data using their own words. Use Copilot to skip traditional menu navigation and locate records faster. Didn't find exactly what you were looking for? You can ask follow-up questions to clarify and refine your search. Copilot acts as a virtual assistant, helping you track down the right information at the right time, all using natural language. Even complex searches become easy. Get answers to questions on how, when, or why to do things. So new users can get up to speed quickly, and longtime employees can learn new skills. Copilot gives your employees an edge by leading them to the next step, so processes are easier to learn and problems are easier to solve. With every day bringing something new, Copilot helps you reclaim time so you can work smarter, adapt faster, and perform better. Be ready for what's next with Dynamics 365 Business Central.
And on that note, we've reached the end of the presentation today. I apologize for running over time. I trust it's been beneficial and you have gained some insights into the new features of Business Central. And the best part of it is this wasn't a sales demo. If you're already using Business Central, you already have access to all the features you saw today. Some additional resources, if you'd like to learn more about any of these features I touched on, here are some links. And of course, the team at Time Technologies is always available. Please reach out to us if you have any questions, or if you'd like to see how any of these features could work in your business. I know we are over time, so if you need to go, I won't be I won't complain. But anyone who would like to stay on for a few more minutes and ask any questions, please go ahead. Let's just switch into the Q&A and see if we have any questions in there. Okay, so there's one question here around some systems have a limit on the number of questions you can use. I believe there is some limit in Business Central. I don't have the answer at hand. I don't think using it in your normal day-to-day operations is going to be limited. If you start to ask it 1,000 questions an hour, it might have some limit, but I'd have to confirm the exact limit, but I'm not aware of what it is, but I know it's not going to limit you in terms of day-to-day operations. Another question around project management. Can the suggest sales lines pull planning lines from a project? Not currently. This is the first release of that functionality, but I'm pretty sure it will become more and more functional as they release more functionality around the Copilot. And especially if you saw in that video, you can ask not only the questions that I showed you today, but all across the whole gambit of Business Central information, you'll be able to ask the questions. So hopefully soon. Another question around, is my data safe using Copilot? So yes, Microsoft is very strong on data security and data sovereignty. So when you're using Business Central and Copilot, your Business Central data never leaves your tenant. It doesn't send your Business Central data to any other environment. It doesn't become publicly available. It doesn't go into the data models. The only thing that's used is the data model itself. In other words, which tables and fields are available in Business Central, but none of your customer specific data ever leaves your tenant. It's totally safe. And there is a whole bunch of articles from Microsoft guaranteeing that if you're interested. And no, your data never gets used to train Copilot. So that's the benefit of using a tool like Copilot within Business Central. As you know, if you went and used some free versions like ChatGPT or something like that, your data becomes used in their models to train their AI engines. But when you use Copilot or any of the Microsoft Copilots, that your data, as I say, remains your data, never becomes public and is not used to train the models. Okay, that looks like all the questions we have. And of course, if you have any other questions, just reach out anytime to any of us on the team. We are going to be running some webinars in the future, specifically around procure to pay and online retail. No dates confirmed, but they will be advertised and we'll let you know in due course. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your day.